All right, folks, it's me again. And once more, we have ourselves a rather interesting story. This one is from our friends over at Weird Facts. Seoul subway sparks controversy. Some escalator versus stair signs show a thin person for the stairs and a heavier person for the escalator. Many are calling it offensive and fat shaming, while others say it's just trying to promote healthy habits. What do you think? Helpful nudge or tone deaf? Hashtag FB lifestyle. Well, I don't know how I feel. As a fact, I guess I should have like some sort of feeling about it. As a fat, I should be offended that you're calling out the fact that I am fat, even though you obviously know that because you have eyeballs, and I obviously know that because I have eyeballs and also I have to move my big fat ass around. But the fact that you have the fat on the floor, like saying, "Hey, fatty, go this way," that's a very misleading sign. Because here's the thing. I'm not offended that you're saying, "Hey, we know your fat ass doesn't really want to take the stairs. It might be a little detrimental to your heart or something, or you may not physically be able to lift up your legs and walk up the stairs because of your size." That's a possibility. However, that's not why I am offended by the sign. I, in particular, am offended by the sign because when you show a sign saying, "Go over here if you're fat," I'm expecting there to be some snacks, bitch. Yeah. There better be a fucking buffet up in that mug. Look, unless you're like some weird ass fucking Silence of the Lamb, like Jeffrey Dahmer ass cannibal or something, definitely a fear of mine. But unless you're some sort of cannibal, to say, "Hey, if you're fat, go this way, big boy bounds this way," I expect there to at least be like some sort of snack, maybe like some like cookies and milk, something, maybe the little peanut packets like they used to give out back in the day in like the airports on like the flights and stuff. I mean, I grew up poor, so we couldn't afford to like take no planes and stuff, but I heard about the peanut packets. And I know a couple of times neighbors who did fly would come back and hook a player up with the peanut packets. And I'm like, yeah, homie, swing them Southwest nuts this way. Pause. Somebody's gonna take that all out of fucking context, but still, regardless. And that was an era too, like back in the day, back in the 90s, I'm gonna date myself, and I'm cool with that because I love being old. It's a privilege to be old, okay? So I'm gonna exercise my old ass privilege of being an old ass. But back in the 90s, when people would go on trips, they would always come back with snacks, which is crazy because back in the 90s, nobody was really fat, like it was few and far in between to see like, larger people or even what we would consider like a medium build. Like the size that I'm at right now, I didn't see anybody my size in the 90s, not adults, no way. Maybe like the little fat kid or so, but in the 90s, like they had things called fat camps, and like sadly they would take the little tubby kid and send them off, and they're like, "All right, you're gonna go to this place during the summer, they're gonna starve you, they're gonna exercise you, and you're gonna come back then." It's like, yeah, they're gonna come back then and addicted to meth, okay? Because like to cope with all the abuse that's going on, physical, mental, and sometimes even sexual, they are going to get into drugs, okay? Just because you felt that little Cindy was a little too fat and you couldn't just say, "No, you cannot have Oreos for breakfast," instead of like giving her a bowl of cereal, you then send her off to some fucked off camp where they do all kinds of fucked up things to her and like completely fuck her off, and then she comes back even more fucked up than when she went. Or you could have just been a parent and said, "No, you can't have cake." So yeah, it's wild, but man, we had like a family friend, and every Christmas she would go to Belgium. Yeah, she was British. Jamaican lady, Jamaican British family next door, very close to my fam. So yeah, this was their aunt. So yeah, she would go to Belgium every year. She would come back with a bucket of chocolates. I'm talking like, those like the little wafer straw things with the chocolate in the center and the chocolate on the outside, and then like it's dipped in chocolate too with the nuts on it. Oh yeah, she'd come back with them jokers, the fucking almond rokas, the fucking all kinds of different fudges, all kinds of good stuff. Some of the chocolates, I was like, ew, this isn't good. It doesn't taste like Reese's. Because I was little. I didn't realize the privilege I had of getting authentic, straight from Belgium, like Belgian chocolate. Even in school, when I got into high school, like the homie Senya, when she went back to Russia, to because she had left there when she was a little girl, and she's like, okay, gonna go back and visit some family. She came back with snacks, I was like, yeah, hook it up with them Russian chocolates. Now, I'm gonna admit, I was a bad kid. I used to smoke cigarettes, as my mom calls them. So she came back with some Russian cigarettes. Now, they had the orange flavored camels. Oh, them joints was good. I hate to say it, but they was delicious. The orange flavored camels, the chocolate flavored parliaments, because if you're Russian, you smoke parliaments, especially in the late 90s, early 2000s. You know. And you either smoked like parliaments if you were a Russian man, if you were a Russian woman, which some did smoke parliaments. Mostly the very feminine, girly girl, wifey wife Russians would smoke the Virginia Slims, or the oh god, there's another one, I can't think of the name of it, but Virginia Slims was like the main one, and then they had like a competitor, Capri. Yeah, that's the name of them, the fucking Capris. Oh my god, those things taste like ass. Okay, they were horrible, the straight toenail taste. But they were long and skinny, about the diameter of like a coffee stir, or like that one straw that's a little bit bigger than a stir but smaller than a straw. Like that's pretty much the size and diameter of like a Capri or a Virginia Slim. They're much longer than your traditional cigarette. And they smoked very quick because there was absolutely nothing there. It was very dissatisfying. That's why it came like 40 to a pack or something. I don't know. If you're a regular cigarette smoker, you needed 2 or 3 to light up for that. But it is what it is. That was the 90s. And yeah, I had a lot of friends who were, Russian at the time. So yeah, she came back with those squares. They were delicious. The other homie, Lids. Oh yeah, Lids. When she went back to Leeds, back to England, to where she came from, same deal. She had left when she was a girl and then went back to visit family. And yeah, that she came back with some British chocolates. She came back with those fucking, the orange, the chocolate orange. Oh my god, their chocolate orange is so much better. British chocolate, that is the pure, that's the good, that's that uncut cacao that's hitting your soft palate. Oh my god, it was so good. She hit me with some of those. She hit me with all the British versions of Hershey's. So she brought British Hershey's, British Reese's, British Crunch. Oh, they were so much better than the US stuff. It was like eating a high-end chocolate bar. And I was like, how are Brits so thin? This stuff is dangerous. I inhaled all of it. I was done. I was ruined. I was just ruined. And it didn't help that these events happened pretty much back to back. And on top of that, hanging out at Senya's house, she had a grandma who was always there. Mom was working. Mom worked hard. Mom was working 12-hour shifts at one department store, and then working another job. She was a hard-working single mom, and her pops was around, but he lived in the city. We were in the suburbs, so it is what it is. But her grandma was always there, and you know what a good grandma does. Grandma be cooking. Now, Senya's mom had fucked around and got a bread maker. And grandma got into baking bread. So you know who was happy? My fat ass. So every day I was up in that bitch. And it's yeah, where grandma at? Where grandma? I forgot what we call her, babushka or something. I don't know. I forget the word. It's been a hot minute since I've had to use nyetnayo, okay? Nyetnayo. It's been a hot minute since I've had to use Russian terms. But yeah, so with that, I come over. I'm like, yo, let me get some of that bread. And she's like, all right. She'd always have a fresh loaf of pizza bread baking for us for when we got out of school because she knew that I loved it. And then her mom would make sure to get like the smoked salmon, so I can put the smoked salmon on top of like the pizza bread and like just let all those flavors marinate and just eat it that way. Sometimes I add a little bit of cream cheese, but yeah, that was my like go-to snack. But here's the thing, I was knocking down that whole loaf. I was knocking down the loaves, yo. So girl started to put it on. Actually, no, I was young, so I had a metabolism. I still had a flat stomach and all that. I was still like looking good, but unfortunately, I was laying down the habits for a future fat ass. And that also developed my love for a good artisan bread. So I will never be that person who says, oh, bread at the like table for appetizer? Get that away from me, you peasant. I'm like, yeah, I'm peasant as fuck. I'm peasant to see this bread. Now come over here and I'll give you a peasantly greeting. Butter me, butter please. Or if you don't have butter, give me the oil. Okay? I'm not too proud for carbs, okay? I'm down with it. I thugs with it. So again, to circle back to this story here in the Korean subway. I can't necessarily say it's offensive because, let's be honest, like, a lot of, like, folks like myself would prefer to take the escalator. Not just because, like, you know, the exercise aspect of taking the stairs. A lot of times on the escalator, I walk it. It's just that I don't want to have to walk past a bunch of people or potentially be knocked down the stairs. With an escalator, nobody ever really like walks past people. People pretty much stay where they are. So it's just a safer mode of transportation for me. But I'm also a cripple on top of being a fat. So I got a lot of yeah, life has definitely thrown me a bunch of lemons, but hey, I got the best fucking limoncello in this bitch. Okay, so with that being said, I have to also close this out by saying this is a different culture. So what may be offensive to Americans may not be offensive to Koreans. They are definitely a more straightforward culture. Definitely spent many a time in like Koreatown, plenty of time in K-Town and LA. My K-Town kids, you know what's up. That's actually my favorite fucking place in LA. Like that's where I'm at home in the city. So obviously, as Kim Chia, I have a love for the Korean culture. And I definitely have been told straight up by like some Koreans some things where it's like, oh, you hurt my soul. I had a girl come up to me like, you may be small, you may be cute, but you got some big ass feet. And your feet will never be smaller than mine. And then she stuck her foot in my face, lifted it up, and went, hee hee, hee hee, hee hee, and then sashayed away. Worst part? I was in the bathroom. So I had literally just walked out of the stall and I was at work and this happened and I had no idea what was going on. So, cause I was just in the stall taking a pee and I looked in the trash can and noticed that someone had dumped out a whole the insides of like a grape swisher. And I was like, somebody get stole that word. Somebody go smoke a big old blood. They done dumped out the blood. So I'm over there just in like goober mode, just like, people doing bad things on the clock. So, and then I step out and I hear this and like the foot in my face. I'm like, what the fuck? And I'm like, okay, weird, strange, whatever. So I leave there and then I'm walking back to my desk and my coworker Tizzle comes up and Tizzle's all like, yo, Tizzle. And I'm like, yeah, what's up? Because it's like chisel and chisel type of thing, whatever. So I'm talking to this cat and again, she comes up. You may be smaller than me, but your feet will never be smaller. And then she sticks the foot up and sashays off. And yeah, I have had criticism about my big ass feet. Yes, I have size 8 feet. I don't care. I also have big hands. I don't care. I'm a great swimmer, thanks to it. I have amazing balance, and you should see me on the basketball court. You cannot outhandle a ball like I can. Pause. So much such statements. But regardless, I've had those type of interactions. I've had restaurants that I've gone into, or stores actually, where they're Korean stores, and I'll grab something that's kimchi, and they're like, nah, son, put that shit back. You ain't even about that life. You black, you ain't ready for this. And I'm like, I can eat this. I'm kimchi. And they're like, kimchi? And I'm like, yeah, kimchi. And they're like, kimchi? And I'm like, kimchi? And then it's like, oh, then you have to do this whole battle thing. It's like, okay, you one of us. And it's like, I get that. Every culture has its version, Like in the South, if somebody comes up, that you don't really know, and if you've seen King of the Hill, you've probably seen some examples of this, where it's like, yep. After so many yeps, it's like, all right, I can accept you. You yepped right. So it's one of those things, Every culture has it. It's no slight from one culture to another, but you just have to know how to interact with different cultures, and that sometimes you freak people out, Like me at the Cardi B concert. Nobody trills like I do. It's like, don't even get me started. You throw me in a Caribbean festival, I'm acting a fool. So we going full on. But regardless, getting back to the original topic of this post. Controversy from who? Is it controversy from foreigners who are visiting, who also don't want to accept their obesity? Or is it a change within the Korean culture, with their culture becoming more westernized and having larger bodies? Because Koreans get thick. They get thick. If you've seen a Korean chick, they got some thigh. They got thigh for Asian chick, I will admit that. They can fill out a skirt. They make them skirts look good. It's like, damn girl, you got some nice thigh action going on. But, not to sound like a pervert or anything, I just appreciate a good form. And, the dudes, I have never met a small Korean dude. Whether if it's been homeboys, ex-boyfriends, they've all been 6 foot or taller, Dudes are big, And if you're a tall dude, eventually your genetics are going to start making you start to fill out more and become plumper dudes. Which I have seen plenty of folks like that. What's dude called a Rocket Man, He's a chubs. He got some chubs on him. So, there's a spectrum. Now, would he find the sign offensive? Oh, fuck yeah. But you know which way he's gonna go. He's gonna follow that arrow. Same as me. Because that's what you do. And there's no shame in that. I see plenty of skinny people take the escalator also. I know plenty of skinny people who will always opt for the elevator over the stairs, even if the stairs is just a small stair. They will take the easier route. They'll take the ramp. They'll take whatever is the path of least resistance that they don't have to lift up their leg. Because it's a personal preference. Do you, boo-boo. But this here is not offensive to me. Only offense I take is that you don't have cake at the end of that route. Because if you're going to say, yo, big and go over here, I at minimum expect to see a food court. Because that kind of says it. It's like, well, if you want to, or at least that's how my fat ass is interpreting it. My fat ass sees it, says, hey, you want to go outside and be thin? Go this way. The other one says, hey, you want to be happy and fluffy? Go this way. So it's all up to the person's interpretation. But with that being said, I'm going to get my fat ass up and go make something to eat, because obviously I'm really hungry. So your girl got to go ahead and get set up with a burger. And pro tip, the best kind of burger that you will ever have, that you will probably never, ever, ever have, will be a bacon, jam, and peanut butter burger. Yes. Peanut butter, natural peanut butter, and some nice bacon jam. You can thank me later. Make sure that burger, and if you can get like the burger with a good amount of garlic in it and get it at a nice like medium, yeah, you said. So with that being said, chi out. Time to get my big back into biggin and get a big burger for my soul.